Good evening, students. I hope you're able to hear me, right?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. So just give me 2 minutes time. Just give me 2 minutes time. We'll get started. Okay. Yeah. So what was the last problem that we were doing? How many of you have completed it? So I told you a method to complete, right? There are certain steps to be followed. Did you guys complete it? So how many of you did this answer? Students are able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how many of you have completed this? None of you? At least do it now, make it fast. So A vector is how much? 3i cap plus j cap plus 2k cap. And B vector is equal to how much? 2i cap minus 2j cap plus k cap. Okay. So we need to find the unit vector perpendicular to this. So let me call that vector as C vector. So what is C vector, guys? I'll call that as A vector cross B vector. So if I do I, j, k and use the determinants method 3, 1, 2 and 2 minus 2 and 4, what do I get? I cap into 4 plus 4 minus j cap into
2 minus 4.
12 minus 4 plus k cap into minus 6 minus 2. So it is going to be 8i cap minus 8j cap minus 8k cap, right? So c cap is equal to c vector divided by magnitude of c vector. That is nothing but 8 into I cap minus j cap minus k cap, the whole divided by 8 root 3. So 8 and 8 will get cancelled. You will get I cap minus j cap minus k cap, the whole divided by root 3. So this is the required answer. You have an option like this: I minus j minus k, the whole divided by root 3. So this is the required answer. Clear? So with this, vectors is over. Now we'll get started with the new chapter. So what is the second chapter, guys? If I'm not wrong, that is the chapter with which they would have started in your school. So I've sent the lesson notes for units and dimensions. That is going to be the next chapter we are going to deal with. So shall we get started? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is chapter 2 in your textbook. I put it as chapter 1 because generally we start with that chapter. So this notes was basically typed by me at some point of time. Okay, so the chapter 2 here, according to your textbook, is units and measurements. So some books refer to it as units and dimensions also. So I can assure one thing, that this is a very, very easy chapter. Okay, it's all about the basics that you're going to learn. So the same thing repeats in your chemistry as well under the name of chapter called as stoichiometry. Okay, so anyways, we'll get started. So basically, before we get started, can you guys tell me what you think is the objective of this particular chapter? Why are we learning it? Anybody? Why do you think we are even
Like
learning?
it is the sir, like it is a basic things. It contains the measurements, units, centimeters.
Okay. So do you think it has practical applications, or we are learning it just for the sake of doing it? It's there in
Sir,
the
it has
syllabus.
practical applications.
Calculating mass, length.
So can you give me some practical examples which you do in your day-to-day life rather than, I don't want a theoretical explanation. What do you do in your day-to-day life? What are all the measurements you do or you take?
So, like when we measure the height of a person, we use the unit centimeter or meter, sir.
Okay.
So in that units is so in that way we use units in our daily life.
Okay. So units are something which are needed to support a parameter called as measurement. Accepted? So I'll give you a simpler example. For example, you eat something, right? You eat for lunch, you will have a certain quantity of something, right? When I say quantity, it has a mathematical value or a number associated with it. Like let's say you take this much amount of rice, you say these many grams of rice I ate. Suppose you're drinking water on an everyday basis. You say I drank these many liters of water on an everyday basis. You're able to understand? So everything has a measurement. For example, you watch TV. You say I watch TV for this much. I had my screen time for this duration. Right? Everything has a measurement. So in order to support that measurement and for some universal language, actually, you know, for a universal language to be created, what people came up with is units, the concept of units, which needed to be supportive aspect for a parameter called as measurement. Right? Do you think we can run our life without measurements? Do you think? Is it possible
No,
that
sir.
we can?
No.
Obviously, right? We cannot have it. See, for example, I'm using a laptop, I'm using a screen. If I go to a shop and ask, I need a comfortable screen, yes, I need to know its dimensions. So the diagonal length is going to be 17 inches. I have a 17-inch laptop. So I'm using a tab to write. Right. This tab has a measurement along its diagonal. It's 9.7 inch, something like this. So every day we need to know what is the measurement, right? And we need to associate certain units for this. And that is what we are going to do throughout this chapter. Okay. And there are some technical names that are given to it, which I don't think is a big deal, right? We can discuss. and we can complete this chapter. Okay. So first, we need to understand what a physical quantity is. So what do you think is a physical quantity? Quantity is something. Quantity is a parameter which you get by through a process of measurement. So when I say quantity, what do you mean by quantity, guys?
That can be counted.
See, for example, the amount of something is a quantity, right? So if you talk about the quantities which can be measured, those are generally called as physical quantities. Okay, so generally, or else you can say it like this: the terms which are used in physics which have a particular measurement associated with them is what we call it as a physical quantity. As simple as that. It's a basic thing, right? So what do you mean by a unit? What do you mean by unit of a physical quantity? So if you give a standard measure of any quantity, that is what is unit. For example, somebody told me about height. So height can either be measured in terms of centimeter, meter, or feet, whatever it is. So all those the suffixes that are using are what are called as units, because that is a parameter which is going to support the measured value, right? So there are certain conditions which need to be followed when you talk about unit. Okay. So first thing, the measure of a unit should be definite and unambiguous. So if you're talking in terms of centimeter, you need to be clear. You cannot club everything and talk. Okay, that is one thing. Second, the unit should be such that its measure should not change, and if unit is defined with the help of some phenomenon, then the phenomenon must be permanent. Just a minute. Okay. So here you are saying the unit should be such that its measure should not change, and if a unit is defined with the help of some phenomenon in the sense a thing which you see. Okay, if you are trying to do a particular experiment and find out the value through that means and give a unit to it, it should not change. That's what they're trying to say. So anyways, we'll be seeing all these things as we progress. Next is the prototype. When I say prototype, it is a replica of something. So a replica of a unit should be in such a way that it is easily reproducible and easily available. Means you need to use a unit which can be spoken by everyone. That is what they're trying to say. So these three are the basic properties that a unit should have. Okay. Next is, what do you mean by the units of a physical quantity, and what are the systems of units being followed? Okay. So generally, when you talk about a physical quantity, if I ask you how many are there, will you be able to categorize them and tell me an exact number of it? Is it possible for us to tell that these are the only physical quantities that are existing? Obviously, no, right? So we keep hearing about new things on an everyday basis. So for all those physical quantities which are invented, we need to associate certain units. And what are all the systems that we can follow so that whatever you try to communicate, even others are able to understand. Okay. So that's what the point is. Although the number of physical quantities is very large, we need a minimum limited number of physical quantities for which unit should be the units of all other physical quantities can be expressed. In the sense, for example, if I talk about, okay, I'll come to that point. So these minimum physical quantities are known as the fundamental quantities. So what they are trying to say is, though you have many physical quantities existing in this world, if you are able to give some basic units from which you can derive other units, then your job is going to be easy. Okay, for example, if I talk about velocity, so what is velocity, guys? It is displacement. It is rate of change of displacement with respect to time. Okay, if I ask you what is the unit of it, what are you going to say?
Meter per second.
Meter per second.
So SI unit is meter per second. Some you can measure it in centimeter per second, or you can measure it in meter per hour, kilometer per hour. It's up to us, right? But there should be some base, right? So meter is a parameter which is used to measure the length or distance, and seconds or hour, whatever it is, minutes, everything is used to represent time. So what I'm trying to say is length and time can be fixed as the fundamental quantities. Okay. So length and time can be fixed as a fundamental quantity, so that you're able to, from that concept of unit of length and time, you're able to derive the units of other parameters. For example, velocity is meter per second. What do you say about acceleration? It's meter per second square. You're able to understand. So that is a point they're trying to say. So what they're trying to say is, though you have many physical quantities, you can take the help of some minimalistic physical quantities, which can be called as or categorized as fundamental quantities, or sometimes they call it as base quantities. Okay. So fundamental quantities and their units. So the units of fundamental quantities are generally called as fundamental or base units. So you need to have this word in your mind. Guys, are you able to understand this point? Right. So the other physical quantities can be expressed as a combination of fundamental quantities, such as physical. So those type of physical quantities which take the help of, which are, or I can say it like this, the quantities which are the combination of the fundamental or the base units, or what are called as derived quantities or derived physical units. Sorry, derived physical quantities or derived units. Am I clear with this point? So basically, when you talk
Yes,
about
sir.
units, so units are fundamentally classified. Units are basically classified into how many types? Fundamental
And
and
derived.
derived. So these are the two things you need to have in your mind. So if I have to speak in exam point of view, if they give you a physical quantity, you should be in a position to say whether it is a derived physical quantity or a fundamental physical quantity. So don't worry, things are going to be simple, right? So we spoke about the types of units, the classification of units. Now we need to speak about the different systems. When I say systems, it is a committee that is formed to express, it is a committee which is formed to confirm that these are the terms which we are going to use for a particular measurement. Okay, so different systems of units have come into existence at different places and times. These systems are, first, FPS system, which is British system. So FPS stands for foot, pound, and second. Right? Foot is measured for length. Pound is measured for what
Mass,
is
sir.
pound is measured for mass, not weight. Okay, don't make that mistake. Second is measured for time. Similarly, the next set of units is CJ system. So what is the CJ system? Centimeter, gram, second. Right? Again, centimeter stands for length, gram stands for mass, and this stands for second. Then we have MKS system. What does MKS stand for? Meter, kilogram, and second. Then you have MKSA system. Okay, in MKSA system, how many fundamental quantities do you have?
4, sir.
You have 4. What are they? Length, mass, time, and electric current. Okay, so now the question is, we have these many we had these many systems across, right? But what do you think is the issue that will arise with these many variations for the same physical quantity? If you observe in everything, I have the same length, I have the same mass, I have the same time, but what is changing? It's
So
units.
different quantity.
No, not about quantity. It is more. I can speak about unit. So physical quantity is the same length. Okay, what you say is right. Quantity will definitely change because you can always find the relation. Because 1 meter is 100 centimeter. I understand that. But physical quantity is the same. Length, mass, time. What do you think would have been the issue that would have arisen? And where do you think the issue would have arisen?
Sir, in the conversion of these units.
Okay. So more practically, can you think?
Sir, there is no
Sir, if there would
standard
have
unit
been
to follow.
1 unit, then it would have been more easier.
Okay. If there is, okay, let's say this was easier. Okay, let's say each system, British people used to follow this kind of system. We used to follow some other kind of system. What do you think will happen if some person from the other country, they come to our country, or the vice versa happens? If they try to sell some product to us, that is if trading happens, you know what is trading, right? So if
Yes,
the
sir.
trading is going to happen between one country and the other, what do you think is the difference that is going to get produced? When a British person comes and
Sir, the
speaks,
value.
yes, they will come and start speaking in terms of foot, pound, and second, which our people might not understand. Right? So you people are physics students, you know what is the difference and you know the conversion. But in a layman point of view, we cannot expect it, right? Not everybody knows. Are you able to understand? So, in order to overcome this kind of, it's more like a communication issue only because they are speaking in some other language. Though foot is an English word, they are speaking, the language in terms of physics is completely different. So it is like a communication issue that started existing or that started coming into picture. To overcome that, what they did is they formed a committee and tried to come up with one standard unit, with one standard system of units, which we today call it as the SI system. Okay. So if you observe all other systems, what are the base quantities? The repeated base quantities are what? Length, mass, time, except the MKS system. Whereas in the SI system, what they did is they brought in 7 quantities, which are treated as the fundamental quantities, from which you can try to derive any other quantity that you want. Okay. So SI system has 7 base units. What are they? So one is length, mass, time, electric current, thermodynamic temperature, amount of substance, and luminous intensity. Okay, I repeat. So 7 fundamental quantities that we had are length, mass, and time, which are fixed. Okay, which are there for the other units also. The next one is electric current. Then you have a thermodynamic temperature, amount of substance, and luminance. Okay. Then what they did is the standard unit that is followed for length is meter. The SI unit. So the SI unit they define this meter. So the name of the unit is meter, and the symbol is the shorter version of writing anything. The symbol used for meter is M. Similarly, for mass, they fix kilogram. So in simple terms, you can write it as kg. Don't make this mistake, okay? K dot G, because it is not kilo dot gram. No, it is just kg. That's it. Or don't make a mistake of writing kg dot, because it's not an acronym. It's a symbol. Okay. Then you have second. So second, the symbol used is ampere, capital A, because it's the name of a scientist. Here, observe one point. Though ampere is the name of a scientist, when you write the name in the full form, right, you should not give caps to it. You should not write it in uppercase. The first letter should always be in lowercase. So capital A. Next is Kelvin. Kelvin is also a name of a scientist, and it is represented by symbol capital A. And the amount of substance is measured in mole, and the symbol used is MOL. Okay. Then for luminous intensity, it is candela, and the symbol used is CV. Guys, are you able to understand this? So we are going to take the help of these 7 fundamental quantities and learn the further things. So this is all about the SI units. Am I clear to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's good. So define derived units. So all other units of different physical quantities that can be expressed as a combination of these 7 base quantities of the SI system is what we call it as derived units. Example, I told you, right? Acceleration. Acceleration is the unit of displacement and unit of time square. Right? So unit of displacement is meter, unit of time is second. So second square is going to give you meter per second square. Okay. So there are 3 things, guys. One is fundamental units, then you have derived units, and the third type of units that you have are called as supplementary units. Okay. So there are basically 2 supplementary units that are, or supplementary physical quantities also you can say. So there are basically 2 supplementary units that are going to exist. One is called as radian and steradian. So these are the supplementary units. But what are the physical quantities associated with these supplementary units? That is plane angle and something called as solid angle. Okay. Now, so what does plane angle mean? What does plane angle mean? So plane angle is basically represented by the symbol theta. Okay. And the unit which is used is radian. Yesterday I would have told you, right? So there are two ways to measure an angle between two lines. One is in terms of degree, or other is in terms of radian, and the symbol used is RAD. Okay, let me explain this part alone. I want everybody to make a note. So if I take something like this, okay, let me make it more clear. So I have a point P here. Okay. Let's say in time t dash, the point P has traveled along the arc, okay, along the circle, and it has reached P dash. Then how much is the angle covered by it? The angle covered by it is 90 degrees. Correct? From P dash, let's say it has come to point P double dash in the anti-clockwise direction. Now it has covered an extra angle from P dash to P double dash of 90 degrees. And from P to P double dash, it has covered an angle of 180 degrees. In a similar way, there will be a particular point where it will come back to its original position. Right? So, in one complete revolution, how much is the angle covered by it?
360 degrees.
Angle covered by the particle is 360 degrees. That's right. So if I take the radius of the circle as r, then what is going to be the circumference of it? Known fact. It is 2 pi r. Guys, are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now comes the definition of radian. Okay. Radian is defined like this. It is the ratio of arc length to the radius of the circle. So it is defined as the arc length to the radius of the circle. So if radian, the symbol I take is theta. Okay. So theta is equal to, mathematically it is arc length by radius, which implies in one revolution, theta is equal to, what is the arc length, guys? In one
2
revolution,
pi r.
2 pi r divided by r. This and this will get cancelled, 2 pi. So this 2 pi radian is what is equivalent to 360 degrees. Then 1 radian will be equal to how many degrees? It is
180.
360 upon
1
yes.
divided by 2 pi into 360. Okay. From this
Yes, sir.
context only, yesterday I told you one thing. See, if 2 pi is equivalent to 360 degrees, how many radians will be equal to 90 degrees?
Pi
That
by
will
2.
be 90 divided by 360 into 2 pi. Okay. Unitary method, guys. That will be pi by 2. Now, did you understand why that pi by 2 actually came? Okay. If you guys know it before itself, fine. If not, I hope you would have understood by now. Right? So 90 degrees is
Yes, sir.
equivalent to pi by 2 radians, guys. Next. I hope everybody made a note.
Yes, sir.
So there is something called as solid angle, which is a two-dimensional measurement. Like how we say radian is equal to arc length divided by radius. Steradian is defined as the area divided by radius square. Okay, generally this angle is what we call it as solid angle, but solid angle main application you will have it in engineering. So I don't want to stress on that point and confuse you. So if I take a cone-like structure and if I do a rotation, right? In the process of rotation, the two-dimensional angle that gets generated here is what we call it as the steradian. So that has something to do with area. So as of now, you accept it. Okay. So that steradian is a measure of what angle? We call it as solid angle. Clear? So what are the three types of units that you saw, guys? One is fundamental, derived, and third one is supplementary units. Right. The next point is, what are all the practical norms for the use of SI system? That is like this. So unit of every physical quantity should be represented according to its unit. If it has a unit, you are supposed to write it, and the unit, for the unit also you need not write it completely, you are going to represent it with the help of a symbol. Second important point, you should not use full stop within or at the end of the symbol. For example, kilogram, it should be written as kg. You should not write it as kg with a dot or k dot g dot. Don't write it like this. Even for example, if it comes at the end of the sentence, after kg, you leave some space and put a dot. You will not write it as kg dot. The dot will not be closer to it. Okay. Next. So symbols generally do not take plural form. In the sense, you don't say, I ran 100 meters. You should say, we ran only 100 meters. Okay. Because if you take, so you don't say it as meters. When you take it as meters, what do we tend to write the symbol as? You write it as ms. So m stands for meter, s stands for second. Right? So what will happen in this case? It will not be meter second, rather it will be read as millisecond. Clear, guys? Next. The units of physical quantity in the numerator and denominator should be written as 1:1 only. Okay, I repeat it. The units of physical quantity in the numerator and denominator should be written as 1 unit only. For example, acceleration is velocity by time. You don't write it as meter per second. Rather, you will write it as meter per second square. This is wrong and this is right. Okay. And the last point is, full name of a unit when it is named after a scientist, like how I spoke Ampere, Newton, Kelvin, like your Tesla, Weber, all these things, they take the capital form only in the symbol, but when you write it in the full form, they are not written in capital. In the sense, which one is right? First one or the second one?
Second one.
But whereas when you write it in the form of a unit, that is, use the symbol, you will use capital N and you will not use small. This is another important point to be kept in your. So this is all about unit space. I hope it is clear, right? Any doubt in this?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Clear, right? Okay. So we have finished units. The next is all about measurements. Okay. So what are all the quantities that you have which can be measured? Length, mass, and mostly time, right? So all these three are basically theory, guys. I don't want to waste time on that by explaining it. I will go to a next concept which involves a little bit of mathematical part. So every day what I will do is I'll teach a bit of theory and a little bit of mathematical. So whenever you do a measurement, can I say it is an experiment? Can I call it as an experiment? See, for example,
Yes, sir.
you have a pen in your hand, right? Everybody has a different pen. You guys are using different brands of pen and all those things. If I ask you to measure, the length of your pen and report the answer to me, what will you guys do? So first, what is the thing you will follow? If when I say measure the length of your pen, what do you generally do? The first thing, you need the subject to be studied, and you need a device which is going to measure the length of it.
Measure it. Yes.
With available things in your hand, what do you generally use? As a student, what is that I can expect from you guys?
A ruler.
You take a normal scale and then you will try to measure it, right? So on the scale, what are the readings that are given?
Centimeters.
In
Centimeters.
centimeters
And
and
one-
millimeters.
And millimeter. One length after zero you have a measurement, right? Right. So how much is this distance, guys?
1 millimeter.
It is 1 millimeter, right? So the least count. I hope you guys know what is least count, right? The least value that any
Yes.
device is 1 millimeter. It's called as least count. So the scale which you have in your hand is going to measure, let's say, these many centimeters and this many millimeters. Let's say 15.2 centimeter. Means you're going to say 15 centimeter and 2 millimeter, right? Suppose, let's say your pen is like this. Suppose, let me say your pen is like this. And you're measuring, the zero is here. Okay, you're measuring in such a way that this particular end falls between two lines. The distance between two subsequent lines is 1 millimeter. So if it is exactly falling at either of the millimeter point, you're right. Your answer is going to be right. When you say it is 15 or 15, let's say you have a 30 centimeter ruler. If you report the answer as 15.2, okay, let's say, for example. Or let me make it like this, 10.2 centimeter. Okay. Do you think your answer is accurate?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Why?
Sir,
Because-
because only till millimeter we have a defined answer from the ruler, sir.
Okay. But if you're able, yes, you're absolutely right. So how can you make it more perfect?
So we need another unit, sir.
You need another unit or you need another device which is more precise.
Yes, sir.
You're able to understand. So here comes an important question. There is something called as accuracy and there is something called as precision. This is where we need to understand the definition. So whenever you do a measurement, the immediate question that gets arised in everybody's mind is how accurate your measurement is, how precise is your value that you're reporting. Okay, so that's what we are going to discuss next. So we call it as accuracy and precision in the measurement. So what do you think is accuracy? They both, if you see the words, no, in basic English, they both seem to be the same, but they're not. But what is the difference then? If they both are going to be same, I could have used only one word, no unnecessary. Why to create another word and confuse people? I can say how accurate was your reading when you took the measurement of your pen. So what is the meaning then? So when can you say something is accurate?
Sir, when it is perfect.
Okay.
So
But how-
precision is perfect, sir. The exact value, whereas accuracy is more of like an approximate.
Accuracy is more like an approximate. Okay, you're using the word approximate. Okay, so the opposite of approximate is accurate. That's what accuracy means. Correct?
Oh, okay, sir.
No. I'm just trying to have a discussion from whatever you told. I'm just trying to think. So accuracy means you told it is approximate. Okay. Even if you need to know something is approximate, you need a comparative scale to tell you something, right? See, for example, let's go back to the pen measurement itself. When I have a pen, when it falls between 2 millimeter, can I say my reading is accurate? Can I say my reading is accurate?
No.
Yes, sir.
Can I say it accurate? Somebody told no. If it is no,
So,
why no?
So it is not the correct value, sir.
Okay, how will you know it is a correct value? Somebody has to tell you, right? So somebody has to here. What is the limitation you are facing? See, see, it's a very simple activity, right? Which I gave you, a very simple activity. I asked you to take a scale and measure the length of a pen in your hand and tell me. But why do you think you are failing to get the exact value? Is it your mistake?
No, sir. The device.
no, sir.
is
So,
not precise.
You
yes, sir.
don't
Device
have a
is
mistake. It is supporting your activity. Right? It is not your mistake. But there would have definitely been a person, right, in the manufacturer's end, or the company itself would have had a more accurate and a precise device. Because think of it logically. Let's think of this. I'm trying to explain you practically. See, when I bought this pencil, I got it from Amazon. Okay, I'll take it out and see. So this is came along with my tab. You're able to see. So it has a length associated. So this is designed by the company. Apple designed it. Okay, accept. This was not designed by Apple. Okay, I bought it from Amazon from some seller. I don't know who it is. But what do you think this particular manufacturer has to do with respect to this pencil?
So he has to have the exact measurement of the product.
If not, what would have happened?
So then it won't be appropriate, sir, for the pen to fit into the case.
Perfect. So what would have happened is there no. I put it inside. It is going. See, it is going smoothly. I cover it up from the top. I have this much gap, and most importantly, I have a cap here. If he doesn't have a perfect measurement, then my cap is not going to go in. Right. So this particular piece, which is designed, which is the pink color, would have got manufactured under a machine, which would have been more precise than the measurement I'm taking. Right. So if I know,
Yes, sir.
if you go to the Amazon website, okay, I told you I bought it from there, right? If I go to that website, under the specifications, I will be able to find the exact dimensions of this because his dimensions are perfect. Whereas because it's made, whereas mine is not perfect because I have a limitation with respect to the device. You're able to understand. So on a comparative basis, let's say the exact length of this particular pink color thing is 10.252 centimeter. Then I give the same device to two students, to two members from your class. I ask them to measure. One will report the answer 10.2 and the other will report the answer as 10.3. Who is more accurate? They're able to say
So
10.2.
10.3.
10.3 will be more accurate. Actually, I make it more 258.
So 10.3, sir.
10.3 is going to be more accurate. You're able to understand, guys? So accuracy has something to do with the comparative study. Means I need to know what is the exact value for me to decide which one is more accurate. Guys, are you able to understand? Does it make sense? Are you able to visualize what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
trying?
Yes, sir.
But the question that we need to answer next is precision. So this is a word which is again close to accuracy. It's confusing me. No, I have three readings in my hand: 10.258, 10.2, and 10.3. You people told me 10.3 is more accurate. Okay, that is right, and the answer is noted. Now, the second question I'm asking is, which among the three readings are more precise?
10.258.
10.258.
Why are you saying this?
That's
Is it
the
the
actual
exact
value.
value.
exact value? And if you observe something, they're able to report the answer till 3 decimal values. Whereas with the limitation I have in my hand, I'm able to report the answer only till 1 decimal value. The next one is a guess because I am approximator. So accuracy speaks about the extent to which your answer, your measured value is close to the true value. So when I say true value, it is the average value in general. Okay, because when you do the experiment, you not every time you're not going to know the true value of it. Clear? Whereas precision mainly speaks about the extent to which you are able to report the answer. The extent means the number of decimal points to which you are able to report the answer is what
Sir,
we
then
call.
what is the difference between accuracy and approximation?
See, accuracy and approximation. See, approximation is like this. For example, I have 10.38. If I ask you to write the round off value,
I'll just write it as 10.
okay, 10.2. I'll round off that 8 to something. I'll write as 10.2.
Okay,
This is
sir.
an
Yes, sir.
This is an approximate value. This approximate value is related only to your thought process. Whereas when I talk about accurate value, I will have a comparative study to do what is the exact value. So accuracy has something to tell. You see, for example, I'll give you a best example. Let's say two people did the same experiment. You're writing down everything in your lab record book, and you bring your record book to me. Okay. So I'm a person who is going to evaluate your readings. What is that I know? I already know what is the exact reading. I will look at your records and tell you which one is more accurate.
Accurate.
Because
Yes,
I know the value, true value of it. So in the process of attaining accuracy, you people have actually approximated only. So you did the approximation only. You're able to understand because the value is neither 10.2 nor 10.3. It is somewhere between 10.2 and 10.3. That itself is an approximation. Who has approximated it to a better reading will be more accurate.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay, in this case, the person who was approximated to 10.3 will be more accurate because the exact value is 10.25. What he would have done is maybe he used the microscope to check whether that line, I told you it is between two lines. If it is exactly at the center, you can approximate it to 10.25. If it is slightly closer to the line below, then you will approximate it to 10. Okay. But had I given you a better measuring equipment, it would have been more precise. So the precision of any measurement, please make an important. Precision of any measurement depends mainly on the least count of the instrument. Here, it is not your mistake that you couldn't be more precise. It is because of the measuring device you had in your hands. You're able to understand?
Sir, can you repeat?
I'm saying precision depends mainly on the least count of the instrument. For example, the ruler which you used had a least count of how much value?
0.1 centimeter.
That is 1 millimeter, right? Had your ruler, so let's say there's 1 millimeter, this is a zoomed version, okay? There's not 1 centimeter, there's 1 millimeter. That is between 0 and 1. Suppose we design a ruler in such a way that between 0 to 1 also you have 10 more readings. Then which one will give you a more precise value?
The second ruler.
The second one, which has 10 more readings. Assume between those 10 again there are 10. You're able to understand. It is difficult to design. That's a different story because you can't see with naked eye. But if something like this happens, then you can say the device is going to be more precise. So that is why precision is a parameter which depends mainly on the least count of the instrument. This can be a 1 mark question, right? I have to talk an exam point of view. Right? But speaking more practically, if you need a precise answer, you need a perfect device. So I can give you another example. Let's say you have a birthday party, okay, and you're supposed to cut a cake, okay. So to one person, I'm giving a sharp knife. To the other person, okay, there is another person who's standing in the opposite and trying to cut it into pieces and serve people. Obviously, there is only one knife that is present. The other person takes a spoon and cuts. Which one will be more precise?
So precise in the sense like what are you trying to say?
Which one will have a perfect cut?
Then the person with the knife.
Right.
Obviously with a knife, right? Because the spoon is blunt. It is not going to cut properly. When you try to press itself, the cake will start bending like this. You're able to visualize. Whereas when you take a knife, the knife will sharply go into this point. Whereas when you take a spoon,
Yes,
first it
sir.
will bend, then it will go. So that is not a precise thing. So that is, I'm trying to explain the basic meaning of precision. Okay. So that's the thing. So generally, you need to make an important note here. When you try to measure any physical quantity with accuracy, one thing that is important is the skill of a person that is doing the experiment. Okay. For example, I give you a wood and ask you to cut it. Obviously, a carpenter will have a better skill than you. Right. So it depends on the skill of the person who's doing the experiment. Second is the quality of the instrument that is being used. The third, the method you're trying to use for the measurement. And the fourth is the external and the internal parameters which can affect the result of the experiment. For example, let's say you're doing an experiment based on Ohm's law. Okay. So can someone state what is Ohm's law?
The current
Sir,
is
the
directly
potential
proportional to voltage.
Potential is directly proportional to the current. Okay, mathematically. But there is an important point there. What is it?
Sir,
Provided
at
the
constant
temperature remains
temperature.
the same.
Constant temperature. So you need to ensure that the temperature is constant. So what happens is, let's say, two of you are doing the experiment. Okay. Let's say one person, when the measurements are not being taken, they have given the connections. Okay, let's say they have given the electrical connection that is required, and one person is not doing the experiment. So what they have done is they have switched it off. But the other person, they are also not doing anything. Not doing anything in the sense you're doing some other work where measurement is not needed, but you kept the device on for a longer duration. What will happen? You know from the heating effect of electric current that the resistor starts getting heated up. So its temperature is changing. So who will give a better answer compared to both? And Ohm's law says resistance is dependent on temperature. So who will be able to give a better answer and a precise answer, accurate answer?
The person with the circuit with switch off.
Person who switched off the circuit because they are not increasing the temperature of the resistance. Or else, according to Ohm's law, the resistance would have increased. So that's what one of the parameters we can say, the external and the internal parameter factors that are affecting the result of the experiment. Are you able to understand? So this is all about accuracy and precision. So though we try to be perfect, right? Though we try to be as much perfect as possible, but definitely you will have some errors in the measurement. It can be due to any reason. It happens. But generally, when you're doing an experiment, when you're taking a measurement, we should not concentrate on the fact of not getting an error. Rather, we should concentrate on the fact of getting minimalistic error. Okay, that is what the next topic is going to be, which we call it as errors in measurement, which I'll be starting tomorrow because you have the next class. So I'll start the errors in measurement in tomorrow's class. I suggest you all to go through this content before you come for tomorrow's class. But there are some problems.
So tomorrow at what time, sir?
Oh, sorry, not tomorrow. Sorry, not tomorrow. Next class. Anyways, Monday's class, I will let you know when I can compensate. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. In the meanwhile, you guys revise this, and if there is any doubt, reach out to me on the student support. Okay.
Sir,
Okay,
will you share it in the study material?
Which one? This one? Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I've already put it in the group. The
Okay,
WhatsApp
sir.
group itself I've already sent. Okay, you guys can go through it. If you have a printer at home, it's better you take a printout and print for this part. Okay.
Okay, sir.
See you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.